Tonight, I am here just as a spectator. I want to see Gone with the Wind the same as you do. And this is Margaret Mitchell's night and the people of Atlanta's night. Allow me, please, to see Gone with the Wind as a spectator. Thank you.
Apparently, we presume that everybody watching this has read the book, or by now seen the movie. If this is not the case, allow me to boil 1,037 pages of book and 3 3/4 hours of movie into television terms. Gone with the Wind is the story of a woman who survives her upbringing, her way of life, 2 of her husbands, and all of her illusions. Other things happen too. Come back for the beginning of the story.
Our World continues. Making of a Classic, 1939.
Welcome back to Our World. Tonight, the world of Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler. The world created by a tiny Atlanta woman, Margaret Mitchell, in the only novel she ever wrote, a novel that took her 10 years to write. It was an instant smash, sold 330,000 copies in 3 months in the summer of 1936. The publishers wanted $100,000 for the movie rights, but Hollywood did not jump at the bait. Civil War pictures were box office poison. Finally, a reluctant David Selznick bought the movie rights for $50,000 and set out to make a silk purse out of a silk purse. It almost came unraveled many times.
It's the story of complete chaos, out of which, I swear to you, rose the phoenix of this great masterpiece. Nobody liked anybody else on the picture. None of the men ever wanted to be in the picture, had to be persuaded and sold and kicked in the pants to do it. The hours were intolerable. We changed cameramen, we changed directors, we changed casting in midstream. We did all of the worst things that can happen to a picture.
Perhaps the best or the luckiest thing to happen to the picture was simply its producer, David O. Selznick. If he was his own Ahab, then his own Great White Whale was a movie that didn't yet exist. And if he made nervous wrecks of the people around him, he also made the picture everybody was betting he couldn't make, but not overnight.
He had just discovered Benzedrine, or Benzedrine had just arrived in the world, I don't know. So he ate it like popcorn.
Remember the Tarleton twins? Fred Crane played Brent and watched Selznick.
They say trifles make perfection, but perfection is no trifle. Well, Selznick was a man like that.
The excitement of his ideas, the brilliance of his thinking, as well as the aggravations of his working hours, which, you know, sometimes we'd stay in the projection room till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's popping the Benzedrine, you know, but we're all falling asleep. He was a fascinating man to work for and the most difficult man I have ever known.
Lydia Schiller, his script supervisor, would not disagree about the difficulty.
Selznick was always rewriting. He couldn't look at a script without consciously or unconsciously rewriting the scene.
To get a script that was satisfactory to Mr. Selznick was just hell on wheels. He had 7 or 8 writers, and in the end, wound up doing the final version himself.
Selznick rewrote F. Scott Fitzgerald's words. Selznick rewrote Ben Heck's words. And Selznick rewrote the words of the man who finally got the writer's credit, Sidney Howard. As far as directors, George Cukor was the first, then Sam Wood was hired to stand in for Victor Fleming till he finished his nervous breakdown. And if the American public was certain Clark Gable was Rhett Butler, Gable was not. But Louis B. Mayer was Selznick's father-in-law. Gable worked for Mayer. Even Gable was certain about that. So one thing led to another.
The casting of every part was a difficult thing, but the men were almost impossible. Clark Gable, he was trying to get a divorce from his wife, Rhea. And she was adamant. She just wasn't going to have it. And Clark was desperately in love with Carol Lombard. And so the only way he would ever say yes was through the divinations of Mr. Ellerbee Mayer, who said to his wife, if you will divorce Clark, we will give you $500,000, which is more money than she'd ever heard of in her life, provided you get Clark to play the part. And so in order to get the $500,000, she not only agreed to the divorce, but told Clark she would give it to him only on condition that he play this role. So that's how he finally got Gable, a very reluctant Gable.
Selznick got Gable. Mayer got 50% of the profits plus distribution rights. And we got the right Rhett Butler. Yes, we did. Olivia de Havilland, who played Melanie, agreed. Gable still didn't.
What was so touching about him was that he knew that the whole world had a very definite idea of Rhett Butler. He was terrified of not fulfilling their notion of the character of Rhett Butler. He felt that it was unmanly to cry. I suppose he'd never done that before because it wasn't the male image and wasn't the Clark Gable image as the great superstar. Well, Victor Fleming said, Clark, really, it will turn out so well if you do cry. And then you could just sense that he had made up his mind that he was going to commit himself, and he would do it. And he wept.
And then when she told me, there on the steps, what did I do? What did I say? I laughed and I said,
but you didn't mean it, I know.
It was a most thrilling thing, and I thought, that's a manly man.
Another reluctant star was Leslie Howard, who played Ashley, but Selznick lured him with $76,000.
Leslie Howard was completely indifferent. He wouldn't read the book and never did read the book. Indifferent as he was, he never learned any lines except the ones he was immediately involved in tomorrow.
Leslie was also a complex person, and when we were filming, he seemed to me in a rather distressed, well, melancholy state of mind. And I think it may have had something to do with the fact that he was playing Ashley. Ashley knew that the war between the North and the South would break out and feared that the South would lose. Leslie Howard, as an Englishman, feared that war would break out between England and Germany, and England might lose. And indeed, we were still doing retakes when the war did break out.
Old Miss Slatter, she come hot-footing up here after Miss Ellen like she always do when anything wrong.
Selznick got a lot of unsolicited casting advice. Bing Crosby had a candidate for Mammy, and Eleanor Roosevelt wrote from the White House suggesting her cook for the part. The cook did not get a screen test, but Hattie McDaniel did, got the part, and played it unforgettably. Then there was Prissy.
Quiet, please.
Come, Butler! Come, Butler! Come, Butler! You come out here in the street to me. The Yankees is coming. They'll kill us all. They'll run bayonets in our stomachs.
Butterfly McQueen, who did that sterling part as Prissy. She was a very intelligent woman, a good actress, and she hated the idea of depicting some sort of a dim-witted slave like she did. But this has been the thing that she is identified with, and anyone ever sees her remembers those lines.
I don't know nothing about birthing babies.
Butterfly McQueen didn't think that being the comedy relief was very funny.
People like Prissy. I think she's stupid and backward, but most people say she's cute. Mammy and I guess all the black servants were comedy relief. People could relax and laugh when we came on scene. I hated it, and I didn't want to do what they asked me to do, but I did. I did everything except I wouldn't let them slap me, and I didn't want to eat the watermelon, which is silly. I could have ate it and spat out the seeds and sang, but I was just going through a phase that I didn't want to eat watermelon. It was very silly, I guess.
Tara was a fictional plantation. Even the Hollywood set was a facade. But like every actress in America, Evelyn Keyes wanted to live there as Scarlett O'Hara.